got everything started up now, and I'm testing the audio to make sure everything's working. Okay, I got everything. Odyssey's doing fine. Now I gotta figure out what's going on here with X. And oh, wait. I know what the deal is. It is streaming to the wrong. It's just I made a mistake. That's what happened. So let me go and check this out. Get it going again. Okay, it looks like I was able to get that up and going. Let's see how it works out real quick. By the way it looks, it's okay. I'm not too sure about that, but we will find out. I'm gonna hit refresh real quick, see what's going on. Yeah. Let me stop this. Start it back up. Maybe that'll do the trick. There we go. It's up and going. Test the audio. There we go. It's up and going. Test the audio. And X is up and going. Audio sounds good. Okay. YouTube sounds good. Hit refresh on Rumble. And Rumble sounds good. Twitch sounds good as well. Rumble. Okay, so it is 9:51. I am going to start the stream at 10 p.m. my time, Central Standard Time. It's in 9 minutes, or 8 minutes now, so that'll give me time to go make some coffee, come back, and get ready for the show. I just wanted to test out the audio, make sure everything was working out fine. So with that being said, I will be back, and we will start our show. actually, okay, now I am going to be starting in 4 more minutes. I am checking a second time on X to make sure everything's working out fine. Oh, actually, okay, now I am going to be, because after being able to live stream on X, I really haven't taken time to really listen to the audio on X. You know what I mean? I've done it through the producer, but that was it. So I figured I would check it out and see what it looks like. Now tonight I'm going to do things a little bit different than what I have been doing. I've been using PowerPoints to have keep track of what I want to discuss in each stream, and they have a lot of lengthy information that I've been sharing on them, which I'm glad that I did, don't get me wrong, because I didn't want to mess up a lot of this stuff, but at the same time I want to be able to have a conversation with things that I've been involved with when it comes to all of this stuff. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I will have PowerPoint still, but they're only going to be one, maybe 2-3 words, just to remind me of what I want to talk about and help me to stay on focus while I'm having the discussion. So the coffee is making. I'm going to go in there here in about another minute or so and still a cup, and then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to start the show. And what I usually do is start up the stream 15 minutes to 30 minutes beforehand, and I get the audio and everything straightened out, and then I go and I start recording at the beginning of the hour. I do my countdown. So for anybody who hasn't watched my streams, I just figured I would explain that. So I have 2 minutes to go. I'm going to go steal some coffee now, and I will be right back. Okay, so I got my coffee. It's time to go. Let me go ahead and do my countdown and start the recording. 3, 2, 1, now. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live with Roger Hanson. Tonight I am going to do something different. Here lately I've been coming up with discussions on topics that I have been involved with when it comes to live streaming, as well as current events like politics and things of that nature. But tonight I want to do something that I've been wanting to do the whole time that I've been doing this streaming thing, where I'm doing roundtables and interviews. I want to kind of discuss the things that I've been going through since I've started doing this whole crazy internet streaming thing. And I'm not just talking about within the last year when I started doing my podcasts and my interviews and my live streams with other people. I'm talking about going all the way back and discussing things that I did when I was getting started, all the way back to the beginning, basically. Now, before I start saying anything, I do want to let people I do want people to understand. I'm not I'm not a rich man at all. I don't make very much money, and the things that I do when it comes to the internet aren't really extravagant. They're not anything that I make money off of. I actually haven't made very much money at all off of the internet whatsoever when it comes to pretty much anything. So just understand that when I say this stuff, everything that I discuss is going to be how just an average Joe like me, got on here. Oh God, now I got the coughs. Got on the internet and decided one day that he was going to make videos. Now, for me to start all that off, I'm going to have to go all the way back to a long time ago. It's been so long ago that I forgot exactly what year it was that I started. It might have been like 2014, 2015, maybe somewhere around in there. And it wasn't really streaming that I started out as. I started on Facebook, believe it or not. Now, on Facebook, I had gotten interested in politics. I'll admit I got interested in politics, and I also got interested in the paranormal and things of that nature. I started following a friend of mine who goes by the name of Old John now, but his name's John Clark, and he came out with a Facebook group called The Wonderful World of Weirdness. And I started out following his group, and that made me want to start doing it myself. So I created my first group, which was at the time, to be honest, I don't know for sure if it was this group or if it was another group that I'd done. I created two Facebook groups. One was called the Praetorian, and the other one was called the Strange, the Bizarre, the Unusual, I Like It. And I don't know which one was first, to be honest with you, but I know I created them. Now, the Praetorian was all about politics at the time, and then the Wonderful World of, the Strange, the Bizarre, and the Unusual, I Like It, was everything that was strange, bizarre, and unusual, like ghosts, UFOs, strange things, like people who had freaking skin made that they could stretch, things like that, kind of like Ripley's Believe It or Not. I was really into stuff like that too. And at first I didn't create my own content. I started, sharing other people's posts onto my page and my group. And I kept watching the views to find out which posts were doing the best, and then I'd focus on that kind of content, you know what I mean? First I started out with a group, and then I eventually created a page to go with that group, and I started networking with other people on Facebook and sharing their content on it. And as time went by, I started getting curious about creating my own content. Now, before I even start talking about videos and everything, I have to say, first of all, what I did is I went to blogs first. I didn't do any videos until later on. What I ended up doing was going to Google, and I created a blog spot basically, and I went in there and I started doing research on on politics for one, and then I started doing research on strange, bizarre, and unusual things, and I created blogs and I'd post them on my Facebook page. Well, as well as that, what I'd do, I'd still freaking go and I would look at other people's content and I would share that on my groups, and I could start noticing, like I said, which posts got more views, and with that I would actually go in and do my research on those topics according to the views that I'd gotten. And this was all back in the beginning. I didn't really know how any of this works, so I was basically just winging it, and I've got to admit, I mean, I did pretty good when it came to using other people's content and sharing it on my pages and my groups. Eventually, I had 4 or 5 different Facebook groups. I had a gaming group called Gaming with Infamous. I had the strange, the bizarre, the unusual, I like it. I had the Praetorian. Then I ended up having the Storyteller, which I ended up turning into a YouTube channel as well. And then I had another one that I've been still working with, and it's called Working with Audio and Video. But at the time, it was something. It was under a different name. It was like a Hanson's Mobile or some name like that. I had a hard time trying to pin a name to it for the longest time until finally I came up with the name Working with Audio and Video, and that stuck for me. Now, it might not be the best name in the world, but for me, I do enjoy it. So that's basically how I started. And as time went by, doing blogs and stuff, I started learning things about people, and taking and learning from what other people said the best type of blogs were to do. And one thing that I learned from them while doing these blogs is that the average person, when they read a blog, their attention span really isn't all that great. I learned that the average person, whenever they go in and they read a blog, they don't want to have to read more than 7,000 words, and that is approximately about a 15-minute read. And that's what I ended up focusing on, and I started learning how to come up with content that was about 15 minutes long, and that's one of the reasons why I continued to do that. At first, with videos, I continued to do that, but at first I didn't. I kind of got carried away with that until I finally got to the point where I remembered what I learned when I was doing blogs about people not really having that big of an attention span when it comes to wanting to look and listen and read content, you know what I mean? So I went and I started making 15-minute videos as well as making the 15-minute blogs, and eventually I just gave up on the blogs. By the time I was done, I had a blog spot, I had a WordPress blog, and then finally, in the end, when I finally quit, I actually had a blog on Medium, and right there I went by Omega Red on that one. So by the time I was done, I stopped using it. I ended up going through and quitting on the blogs, and that was when I decided that I wanted to start streaming. Learn about making my own and videos and doing content and things of that nature. So I did. I went ahead and I decided to stream, and I got involved with. Um, at the time, I'm not quite sure if Facebook had good video streaming at the time. It was before they really started catching on to the whole live stream thing and stuff of that nature. It was real touchy, you know what I mean? Back then, like everything was just starting up whenever I started. And like I said, I was going on and hanging out with John on the Wonderful World of Weirdness, and eventually what happened was is he made me a moderator for his group, and that's what introduced me to his channels. And eventually he decided that he was going to go on to YouTube and start the Wonderful World of Weirdness on YouTube. And about a year after he did that, maybe a year and a half, that's when I decided to freaking go and do my own channel as well. So I started out with doing the Praetorian first on YouTube, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was, because during that time I was interested in politics, and I was getting more involved in what was going on in the elections and stuff. And I'd say I started getting involved more into politics about 2 years before Donald Trump got into office. It was Obama. During the Obama administration, there was a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on then, and I remember getting caught up in a lot of the stuff that was happening during that time. And at the same time, I decided that I was going to start a channel for the strange, the bizarre, the unusual. I like it. So that began my adventures into streaming. Now I did try to do live stream back then, but I have to tell you one thing that I did learn when it came to live streams, and that this was back in the early days. This is one of the first things that I learned. Okay, now if you want to do any proper live streaming on the internet, you have to be working with a proper computer. Okay, don't listen to anybody who tells you that you can just grab any computer that you want and get on freaking YouTube and just start live streaming, because that is not true. Okay, if you have a really old computer set that was made like back in 2011, 2012, trust me, it will not work on YouTube when it comes to live stream. You can possibly do it, but it's not going to be the best of quality. Now, you could probably get away with what I'm doing here, like, except for my slideshow that I have in the background. I would never suggest that anybody with a weak computer use a slideshow. Just get you a picture, put it up there, and then just have a conversation like I'm doing right now. Okay, that would be your best bet when it comes to doing something like that. But if you want to stream and you want to have a quality stream, especially when it comes to gaming and video that's actually moving, you want to have a computer that's working properly. And when I first started, I didn't do that. I actually had my settings set up to work, because see, the thing about the thing about computers is like the one thing that I overlooked at, and I had a hard time convincing everybody else about it, was the fact that when you do your videos, okay, you have to worry about the frames per second, and you also have to worry about the resolution. Those are some very important things, but also one thing that you have to worry about is having a good IPN. IPN is your network provider, okay? Now, if you are streaming, you're going to want a network, internet provider that is giving you at least uh, three, 3,000. I believe it's 3,000 millibytes, okay, of upload speed. Now, when I started doing this, we had Frontier, and in this area, Frontier. Well, first of all, Frontier is just another name for AT&T. So here in this area, when AT&T was here, they actually had a or how was it? What they did is they literally just avoided setting up fiber optics in this area. So all of their wiring was copper, basically. So that was an issue that we had. 3,500 kilobytes per second is what you need just for live streaming. Okay, when you go on for a bit rate. Okay, and when you go onto the internet and you don't have that, it's going to cause a lot of problems with your live streams. Now, what I ended up doing is I created live streams where I set the bit rate at, I believe, 4 or 600, because that was literally how much I could do my bit rates at. And when I did that, I also used a custom buffer size, and I made the buffer size at 600, I believe, and that was able to get it to where I could I could live stream. But like I said, the resolution was horrible. The the resolution was horrible, and I'll be straight out with that. I got a lot of criticisms from it, and this was me trying to live stream like Minecraft and video games. I was really big on Elder Scrolls Online, and people would just constantly give me bad criticisms about the streams I'd done, and the reason for that was because I had to use those settings in my OBS in order to live stream. And what it basically comes down to is I was being rebellious. I didn't want to listen to people when they told me that I couldn't stream with a small computer. I was going to prove them wrong. And as time went by, that's when I started finding out about my internet provider too. I found out that even if I had a good computer working with Frontier, I wouldn't have been able to do a good live stream anyhow, because I believe at the time I was only getting 1,200 kilobytes per second or millibytes per second for upload speeds. Now, that's pretty bad. Okay, if anybody who is live streaming knows what I'm talking about, they know that you do have to have a lot more than that. And eventually what ended up happening is that we had to change internet providers. We changed from Frontier to Mediacom, and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that Mediacom is a good company, because they are not a good company. They're very shady in their dealings and stuff, but in this area, they're the only ones that are able to provide what you need when it comes to live streaming and stuff. and we had to go with them. So we ended up working, or so I ended up having to learn that I needed to have a working proper computer in order to do it, and plus I had to check my IPN, make sure that I had a good network provider. Now, though the network provider is very important. If you're getting into this stuff and you really want to get serious about it, you have to make sure that your network provider is able to give you what you need when it comes to upload speeds. Download speeds aren't the same either, and a lot of people get that mixed up. Now, when it comes to streaming, and I'm talking about real streaming, I'm not talking about watching Netflix on Roku. I'm talking about where you get on here and you actually stream your own content like we're doing right now. When you do this right here, you need upload speeds. Well, I guess you would need upload speeds as well. I don't know. On Roku, I don't know about all that. I try not to focus on all that stuff, but like right here doing what I'm doing, I need upload speeds. So when you're streaming like this, it's upload speeds that you have to worry about, So that's the one thing that I had to figure out, and I had to learn about and try to get things sorted out in my head, This is all stuff that I had to do on my own. Okay, I had to learn how to stream and edit videos all on my own. Now, the thing that really annoyed me the most back then, and they have changed. They've become more friendly about it with YouTube, but I made comments on their studio whenever this was becoming an issue with me, but they said that they had these classes that you could take and learn about how to live stream and create your own content and stuff, and I got on there and I started paying attention to what they were saying, and all I kept seeing was like these pretty much advertisements of, you should go out and you should get this kind of lighting, and you should make sure that the area is got an ambiance to it. Make sure that all the lighting is pretty and that your hair looks good, and just stupid garbage like that. And that's all they were pushing out, buy this, and buy this. And all the time that I was going through the process of learning how to stream and edit videos, I didn't come across problems dealing with any of that. What I had problems with was frames per second, how to adjust your OBS to where you can create a good stream on a freaking on your OBS. Learning how to use encoders, period. You know what I mean? Because when I first started out, I didn't know anything about OBS. I actually tried to start out with XSplit, which in my opinion was a horrible mistake. XSplit was just horrible to the freaking core. But I got on YouTube, and again, YouTube's endorsing freaking XSplit. If you want good quality videos, you need to use XSplit, and they were putting it up there on the streaming options. And in order for you to see anything that even mentioned OBS, it was like you had to click on it, and then a drop down menu would pop up, and you would have to manually freaking put the stream key and everything in, which now you still have to do that, but they don't emphasize using XSplit, you know what I mean? It was very, very much aimed at using XSplit is what I'm saying. So they were more into the whole area of trying to sell products, and that really pissed me off. I really think that if they would have come out with some serious editing videos back in the day, whenever I first started, I could have actually gotten off to a better start. That really slowed me down on a lot of things, but I did learn on my own. I learned mostly on my own a lot of the stuff that I've had to learn today. I didn't learn it from doing OBS. Now, I do have to tell you that I did go into LinkedIn, and I did their LinkedIn learning when I started getting familiar with a lot of things. I did figure out how to do stuff when it comes to creating videos, editing them, you know, SEO, things of that nature, and that's stuff that I do want to get into later on in the discussion. But you know, I also want to be able to get into some more important stuff before I get to that, because you know, don't get me wrong, learning how to stream and edit videos is very important. You know, I had to go and find good editing tools, which is something that I think that everybody needs to do. You know what I mean? You have two different kinds of people. Okay, you have people who are live streamers, and then you have people who are they have a passion for making videos and live streaming and doing, and they love doing it, and it's an obsession, and that is where I fall into. I just enjoy the process of making videos, and I'm not just talking about editing them, and I'm not talking about streaming them. I'm talking about even the post-processing, you know, when I go on YouTube and all these platforms and I upload them and I organize them and I schedule them. I love all of it. And there's tons of people on the internet who don't like doing it, but they still get on the internet and they stream, and that's all they do. That's all they want to do. They want to get on there and they want to make some streams. They don't want to edit nothing. Easy peasy, once a week, you know, kind of setup. So that's the one thing you got to realize too. Like, I'm that kind of person who I do this because I enjoy doing it. I thoroughly do enjoy doing it. Now, starting on YouTube, that was one of the big things that I had to do. So I had to finally, you know, grasp the idea that I had to have a good computer to work with. I couldn't work off of a toaster / potato, whatever terminology you want to call it. I had to make sure that I had a good internet provider. That was an obstacle that I had to overcome as well. And then there was the process of learning how to actually stream and edit videos. Now, that was where things started getting really weird, because I had eventually learned how to edit directly off of my OBS without having to use Blender or use any other kind of editing software. Now, I do want to get into the editing software and things of that nature. But first, before I get started there, I want to kind of discuss like my first attempts at streaming. Now, when I first started out, Google Live was still out, and if anybody can remember Google Live, that was the worst freaking streaming program on the face of this planet, in my opinion. I didn't have the best of computers, don't get me wrong, okay? But Google Live was horrible. It was real choppy, and when you tried to talk on it, if you didn't have a strong enough signal, you wouldn't come out very good. Your voice would just be popping in and out and everything. And that is what finally I think did me in when it came to doing live streams, because I just could not cope with it. On top of the fact that I uh, ended up losing the computer that I had back then because of a power surge that came through the house, and it just completely fried the computer I had. Now, the one thing that I do have to tell everybody too, and I know everybody thinks it's nonsense when I say this, but surge protectors are very, very important. You need to protect your computers, okay? When it comes to taking care of your equipment, you you need to think of your computer as your equipment, okay? It's a tool. If you're getting into this and you're wanting to um, get serious about it, you're going to have to protect your computer like you would your tools if you were out on a work site for a construction company. You know what I mean? You'd never leave your freaking hammer laying around overnight while you go home. You know what I mean? You'd have it in your toolbox. The same thing goes with your computer. You need to make sure that it is safe, and one way of doing that is getting yourself a surge protector that will protect it from any kind of power surges or whatever's going on in your house. Um, it will knock a computer out quick as shit if it is not protected. So always remember to do that. Now, that computer that I had, the thing about it is I was having all these problems, and the reason, now that one was a quad core CPU and it didn't have a GPU to go with it. And quad core CPU is a central processing unit, and it has 4 cores inside of the CPU. And even with a quad core, I was still having problems. And this is where the network provider comes in handy, because like my nephew Jacob, he had a hard time believing me when I told him about your internet provider. Okay, at the time Blender worked pretty good with quad cores. Now today they've made so many changes and they've upgraded Blender so much that you couldn't do that today. But back in the day, you could actually get on Blender and you could edit your videos with a quad core and everything. But when it came to trying to stream, I just still could not do a proper stream. And I finally, after checking it out and figuring out what my upload speeds were, figured out that it was my network provider. It was Frontier that was causing me problems with being able to live stream. So that's when I figured it out, and I started telling my nephew this, and he didn't believe me until just recently, when he actually took time and built his own computer like I have. You know, he built his own computer, and it's a great computer. It has 8 cores in its CPU. It's got a GPU to go with it. You know, top of it's quality. You know what I mean? He had it set up pretty good. You know, and after he did that, he went on, he wanted to game. Now, my nephew's not a streamer like me. He doesn't get on the internet and make streams or any of that nature. All he does is he plays video games. And he likes to play Baldur's Gate and things of that nature. And, you know, Monster Hunter and things, you know, games like that. And because he had that computer with 8 cores in its CPU and that GPU, he was able to see for himself that what I was saying was true. That it doesn't matter how nice your computer is and how buffed up it is, if you have a crappy network provider, it doesn't matter. Okay? So that's the one thing that I learned, and eventually my nephew was able to learn it, and he had to learn that the hard way, just like I had to learn it the hard way out of experience. And I just wanted to share that with everybody because that's something that was very valuable to me. These are all the basics. These are things that I had to learn in the beginning when I first started out on YouTube, and that's some of the stuff that I had to mention. Now, another thing that I ended up having issues with when it came with YouTube was the monetization. Now, when I first started my channels up on YouTube, they didn't have this freaking watch hours bullshit, and I started my my channels out just very shortly before they started all that, and as a matter of fact, by the time they did start implementing watch hours and monetization like that, they had me on monetization and I'd made like 31 cents. And to this day, I still say they owe me 31 cents because they're a bunch of bastards and they ripped me off. You know, but still, you know, that's how I started out with it. And then when they first came out with their monetization programs, what really pissed me off about it was the fact that they came out with this thing of saying that you had to have 10,000 watch hours. Okay, now 10,000 is a lot. Okay, now it's even smaller. They did reduce it, but 10,000 watch hours is a huge amount of people watching it, and that really pissed me off, you know. And I got fired up about it. I really did. I think I went sour on YouTube because of that. That was the beginning of my road to hating YouTube, I guess you could say. And even though I hated them, I kept on using them, and I still use them today, you know. But the thing of it is this watch hour stuff, you know what I mean? It's really insane, even today, compared to what I was expecting it to be. I didn't think that it was going to end up being the way that it has turned out, you know. And I know that they lowered the amounts of people that need to watch your videos and everything, but they had to do that because they were forced to. I personally still believe that they are phasing out people who are on YouTube that are creating their own content, because I've mentioned the fact that they have YouTube television now, and then they have all these other programs that are going on. Eventually, what I see YouTube doing is becoming another Roku or another freaking Netflix. You know what I mean? Eventually, they're not going to want people to come on and create content for themselves. And they're trying to push people away. I've never heard of any kind of business model where they're encouraging people to leave. You know, that's just so insane. And today, I still don't agree with pretty much anything that YouTube has come out with when it comes to their monetization program. As a matter of fact, I've refused to do any type of monetization when it comes to YouTube, and to this day I've held true to it, but I'll get on with that later on as I go on with what I'm talking about, because I think that there's other things that I need to discuss before I get to that part, because there are new things that's happened in my time on streaming, you know. So these are basically the things that I had learned earlier on, and the monetization had come around, and that kind of soured me on YouTube. So what happened is I started getting into live streaming video games, and I started doing my interviews and my roundtables and stuff of that nature. Okay, now when I first started out, it was all, like I said, about editing videos. My computers were so bad off that eventually I stopped trying to live stream altogether, and I started focusing on editing my videos and putting them up on uploads. And through that whole process, I learned how to edit. And like I said, I was editing on OBS at sometimes, because I've had about 3 or 4 situations where my computers just crashed and I had to start over from scratch. I actually had this old laptop where the battery, I had taken it out and I had plugged in the laptop and had it hooked into the wall. The fan was gone out, so I went and got one of those fans that you set up underneath it, so where you could pull the heat out from underneath it. And I had that plugged in too, so that was all I had when it came to doing anything on the internet. And whenever the fan was running, it was real loud. You could hear, and so I'd have to smack the freaking keyboard to get the noise to stop, stuff like that. But I did it. I as a matter of fact, I did my D&D stuff on that same computer for quite a while, and this was not when my big computer crashed, but when my somewhat decent toaster computer that I was using ended up crashing. I had to go down to my laptop. So that made 3 computers that had literally just gotten fried. And during this whole time, I had to learn how to adapt, and I had to learn how to think quick on my feet on how to get my audio and video set up and be able to edit and be able to do things. So in the process, what I had learned to do is I had learned to use my memory in order to frickin' be able to do these things when it comes to setting up my streams. Okay, now I really don't have to have templates, and I really don't have to have a certain way that everything, it's in my head. Like I can literally wipe everything off my OBS, and within a half an hour I can set up my OBS exactly the way I want it to be set up for any particular video. After I'm done with that, I can wipe it again and do it for another video that's completely different than the one I just did. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to learn how to set up these videos individually the way I wanted them. And I have it in my mind that this is the way I want it. Okay, now a lot of people like to create a routine, and they like to make everything as normal as possible, and I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. But for me personally, I had to learn that I've got to be able to adapt. There's things that are going to happen when it comes to videos that I'm not going to expect, and that is something that's actually helped me out, because I've seen situations where people that I've been working with here lately had bad situations that popped up, and me and a couple of my friends were able to snap to it and take care of it. A friend of mine, Jaffe Ryder, had an issue with that, with a VoIP that he had been using, or he used that night. And this VoIP just literally cut him off right in the middle of frickin' stream. And at a moment's notice, me, Mark Edworthy, and Tanhai Tran pulled together. We got frickin' Jitsi up and going, and got Jaffe on Jitsi, and his show went on as regularly scheduled, And that was because we were able to adapt quickly. Most people can't do that. Most people who stream are just completely unable to be able to do that whatsoever, and it's because they've gotten themselves set in a routine that this is how they need to do it, and that's it. And that's one thing, if I can ever suggest to anybody, is you need to learn how to adapt to situations. If your computer gives out on you, it's not the end of the world. Just figure out how to get your content out and work around it. If you have a telephone, start recording on that telephone. Post that stuff straight up on YouTube or wherever it is that you're doing your content at. Get it out. Make it a routine to do the stuff, and also tell yourself that no matter what, you're still going to work through your issues until you get through it. You know what I mean? And if you work hard enough, you'll get through that situation, and you'll be able to freaking come out of it smelling like roses on the other side. It might not be easy, but you'll appreciate it later on. You'll learn from it. And for me, I know that I learned a lot of good stuff, not only from the stuff that I did right, but also from the mistakes I made. You know what I mean? So everything was a learning lesson for me when it came to doing this stuff. So even though I have like bad videos from way back when, with bad audio and everything, that's my content. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get rid of it because somebody who has a negative attitude wants to make a negative comment about it on YouTube or any other platform, because that's me. That's where I came from. You're looking at what I had to go through to get where I am now, and that's just how I feel about it. So like I said, I started out on Facebook, and then I went on to YouTube. From there, I did get into live streaming. Now, when I started live streaming, I did video games for the longest time. I'm not going to lie about it. I did do quite a bit of video games, and I will say one thing too, that video games taught me a lot. Now, there are a lot of video gamers who don't really give a damn about the art of creating videos, and they don't care about editing. They don't like it. They would rather have somebody else do it than themselves. But there are a lot of smart people who do video games, and that do edit their videos, and they do care about their live streams. There's my buddy Rapid. He likes to go in and create templates for his retro gaming. And I also know the Drew Gamer. He's the same way. He has excellent videos of templates that he uses with his retro games for Pokemon. He's done some cool videos with Citra. It's an emulator that he used for a couple of his games, where it shows him playing and the map showing where he's at on the map. And these are all templates that he set up. Rapid is good on templates too, and he enjoys using sprites in his videos and stuff of that nature. So I got to go through and learn how to do all that. Here recently, I did a project with Elder Scrolls Arena, which, to be honest, the editing is a pain in the ass. It is really a pain in the ass, but it's worth it in the end, because it helps me develop my skills. You know what I mean? This stuff gets so annoying that after a while you don't want to do it, but at the same time you don't want to stop doing it. And that is basically what happens. It becomes an obsession. You don't know for sure if it's a passion or if it's just a flat out obsession. And that is basically what video gaming has done for me, or to me. I don't know if it's a positive or negative, but it's something. It has literally just completely corrupted my mind. Um, I used to enjoy playing video games too, you know. Now it just seems like it's just such a responsibility. I mean, and I hate saying that, but it's true. I had video games that I wanted to do on YouTube that me and my nephews and my nieces and my son were all playing together, you know, and I ended up getting the majority of them done. But by the time I was done doing those games, I was sick of them. It's it's it starts feeling like a responsibility when you start doing this, and I've heard a lot of people talk, you know, smack, saying, well, you know, you're getting burned out and everything, and it really has nothing to do with being burned out. It's just the fact that at one time these were fun games that you enjoyed doing, and now they've turned into a responsibility, and it just does something to your mindset, you know. And maybe I can get that back. Here lately, I've been playing some pretty cool games. I've played Doom, which is actually a game that has absolutely nothing to do with my nephews or nieces or anybody. It's a game that I enjoyed. You know, I played that, and I played um, Assassin's Creed Unity, and I've really enjoyed those quite a bit. I also have finally got to play a game that I've been wanting to play for a while called For Honor, and I thought that would be a lot better than what it ended up being. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of the game that I did like, but I I did have a certain level of disappointment on that one. It wasn't what I expected it to be. Just put it to you that way. Um, I I I I I did enjoy it. I'm not going to say that it was a complete disaster and that it was just a horrible game, because it wasn't. It was an okay game, and I do say give it a try, because it's a matter of if you want to watch it or play it or not. You know what I'm saying? It's a it's an acquired taste, is how I would say it. Um, and the sword play in this game is just completely amazing. It's very precise. The reason why I originally wanted to play that game was because it reminded me of Tenchu, and this is an older game that I used to play with a friend of mine in Kansas City. His name was Caleb, and Tenchu was a ninja assassin game, of course, you know, back in the old days, back in like the 1990s, back when people played Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3. Oh my goodness, how horrible, you know. So I played Tenchu, and Tenchu had a pretty good sword system for that time period. And whenever I saw For Honor, that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of that kind of sword play where you went toe to toe with people and you had to frickin' have your controller aimed at a certain direction for the sword to frickin' actually block. You know, so if somebody swung from the left, you had to block to the left and then block to the right and things of that nature. And that's what caught my attention with it. So in that aspect, yeah, I love the game. It's pretty good. Now, before I go off onto that, I want to come back to the idea of, yeah, when it comes to live streaming, I did do a lot, or I have done a lot of video games. That's where I really stuck to after I figured out that my live streaming wasn't really working out the way it was. And I still, even while I was doing that, I still gave it my all on live streaming video games. I eventually got into learning how to fix computers and repair them. From that point on, I finally started building my own computers. And the reason for that was, for me, it seemed like common sense. Okay, you take a look at these computers and you see how shitty they are coming off of the freaking store, the storefront, right off the floor. These people in Walmart and freaking all these other tech stores that are selling computers, they are selling you computers that have already been outdated, um, with old tech before they even freaking hit the freaking display counters. And I started catching on to that from a lot of people that I paid attention to on the internet who were talking about it. And it's true, the majority of people go out and they buy their own computers are buying outdated shit before they even get their hands on it. And that is completely amazing to me because, well, it was amazing to me is what I should say. Now it's not really amazing to me because I've learned that these companies are just they're 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 uh, they're milking the system basically. You know what I mean? They know what they've already released and they know what they're capable of selling as parts. You know what I mean? So they can make more money by breaking it up for the better quality stuff and then selling that to you so that you can build it yourself. So in that aspect, I understand it, but there's also other things too that I ended up learning because of live streaming. Now, it, I learned how to build my own computers, and the reason why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to build a computer that would allow me to do my video games, be able to try to get quality stuff, and some of the stuff that I do have on my videos, they're not all that great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they are, but they're a lot better than what they were. And it's still a work in progress. I do use Blender again, and when I came back on and I started using Blender for computer graphics, I found out how much stronger that program has gotten, and I'm glad that I did upgrade to what I've got now, because if I would have done it to the original specs that I had on my first computer, I wouldn't have been able to do this stuff. And the reason for that was because I had tried to use Blender previously on my son's computer, and it was a horrible mess. And he even told me before I did it, he's like, it's not going to work very well, But I figured that out. So whenever I sat down and I figured out what the specs were going to be for this computer, I anticipated that, and I created this computer so that I could do some computer graphics. I could do some games streams, and then I wanted to get back into streaming, well, like this, just getting on here and having a discussion. At the time, I didn't want anything to do with interviews or roundtables or anything like that. That came later, and that came within the last year. As a matter of fact, I believe it started between now and September would make September the 3rd, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere between this time, it would make a year that I actually started doing it. And this is the time period where I actually have done live streams that involved interviews and roundtables and things of that nature. But before that, I was creating my own videos. um, creating my own content, uploading them. I got to the where I was scheduling my uploads and everything to where they were scheduled out on a regular basis. I learned things like it's not proper to data dump when it comes to videos. So whenever I do make videos, I try to schedule them out on a regular basis for like if I'm gonna have a video come out on Sunday at 5 o'clock, every Sunday at 5 o'clock a video should be there. You see what I mean? And I should do that on a regular basis. Now I should never dump tons and tons of videos one right after the other. People don't like that, and as a matter of fact, platforms don't like that either. They don't like it one bit. And if you really want to see what that does, then like if you're on Discord, go to Discord after you data dump and see how those videos freaking were transferred to Discord. It's ugly. They don't even show the display of your video, like the thumbnails or anything. It's just little squared boxes with the name of your video on it. That's what happens when you data dump. So that's another suggestion I'd have, is schedule out your videos and make it to where they don't just download or upload, post at the same time. Another thing that's important for me is when it does come to scheduling is very important. Time management, I always talk to people about this all the time, and I don't even have these in my PowerPoints, and this is something that should be mentioned. Time management is very, very important when it comes to this stuff. I think that I couldn't do even a third of the stuff that I do right now if I did it off the cuff, you know what I mean? So managing your time, and when I say managing your time, I'm talking about determining when you want your videos to be released and things of that nature, and creating a schedule. Those are the things that are important. Those are the things that matter to me, because without doing that, I wouldn't be able to do some of the things I've been doing. And if you're on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, I know there's a few other ones, I just can't remember what they are. But if you're on those platforms, you know that I release a lot of stuff, okay? Or X, I'm on X too. And I make sure that there's at least one video that's being posted a day on most of them. Okay, at least one video. I know there's more of them on Rumble right now that's coming out, but like on X, I've got a video a day coming out on there. I've got one video a day on YouTube for my gaming. I don't have it for the Wonderful World of Weirdness and on Strange Stories and the Praetorian. I'm taking a break with them. I've had to back off and kind of relax a little bit. Now all of this I do want to go over to kind of go through it a little bit more thoroughly, but I'm not at that moment in this conversation. Where I was at was like these interviews, setting up these interviews. Now, when I first started doing these interviews, it was last year. What happened is I decided that I wanted to celebrate, because Minds had started a live stream. They started allowing people to live stream on Minds, and for anybody who's been on Minds.com, that was a pretty big deal. At least it was for me, It's been mentioned that Minds should live stream for quite a while, but they did, you know, and I thought it was a big deal. So we all got together in Mine's chat and came up with the idea of live streaming for the chat. You know, everybody that was a part of it, and it started out with me, Mark Edworthy, Tan High Train, and Karma Love. Then Pecos Dave, he was with us, but he didn't stick it out. He kind of vanished after about 2 or 3 videos that he did with us. And Mr. Robot was around too. We call him Mr. Robot. You can find him on there all the time. He's just a nut. But we were all there, you know, and doing this thing together. And what happened was is I ended up doing a lot of streaming, a lot of interviews, a lot of shows, and I had to learn my lesson about that, especially when it comes to the roundtables and the shows that I have been putting out. I know that I overdid it, basically, is what the deal was. And I have a tendency when it comes to this stuff of doing a lot more than what most people are used to. And it caused a lot of wear and tear on the people around me as well, because they had it in their mind that they had to keep up with me. And at first I neglected to tell people, you know, don't try to keep up with me. But after a bad experience that happened with Karma Love, I told other people like Bob Dub, I told her, please don't try to keep up with me. If you don't want to do this, tell me and we can, you know, you can stop. And it got to the point with her where she started thinking I was treating her like an employee. And, you know, I mean, first of all, I don't ever want people to think that way whenever it comes to this stuff. I was hoping that she understood when I told her at the time that I don't want you to do it if it's too much for you, you know what I mean? And I definitely didn't want to leave the impression that I was treating anybody like they were an employee. It's just I have been doing this stuff so much that it just becomes routine, you know. And it's not easy for a lot of people to do. It really isn't easy at all. But that was one of the things that ended up getting me to where I decided that I'm just going to do these live streams right now with Live with Roger Hanson. I'll go on to a few other people's shows. I've been showing up for the new Cafe Enigma. I just did 2 streams with Naroki off of Skype. He did one last night and then the night before. I've been showing up on WPRNP, Pirate Network, something like that, with Jaffe Ryder, hanging out with him. But other than that, I mean, this is it. I'm doing Live with Roger Hanson. And I think I'm going to do it for a while. I want to at least get 12 episodes of it, because this is something that I've been wanting to do. Because in these interviews and with these roundtables that we've had, you know, I'd come up with these topics and everybody had their opinions on it. And then I'd do shows for Bob Dub where she was talking about the masculine and the feminine, and then she was talking about duality and all that, and I was on her shows for her, and she was putting them on the channel that I'm a part of. And it seemed like when we were doing that the message for me was getting mixed up, you know what I mean? People were starting to think that just because I was a part of it, that was the way I felt. And I was never getting on these interviews or getting into these roundtables and telling people my points of views, because for me it seemed like people were getting angry because they didn't agree with the way I thought about things. So coming back to that's the reason why I wanted to do at least 12 of these episodes, was so that I could kind of talk about what I felt about some of these things and the things that I had to go through when it came to creating content and things of that nature, because to be honest with you, there was a lot of things that I did have to deal with when it comes to stuff, It's just like with video editing and OBS. OBS, I had to learn so much from it. I've gotten more experience off of using OBS than any other tool that I have when it comes to video and streaming and everything. And I've still got a lot more to learn about it as well. I mean, for me, to be honest, I know just the basics. I can, if anybody needs help with that, I can help them out with the basics. I can show you how to set it up. I can show you how to do freaking media sources. I can show you how to do freaking put images on your stream, do slideshows, window capturing, display capture, all that stuff. I can teach you how to do that. I've learned how to do multiple outputs to where you can stream on multiple platforms for free. Right now I'm doing Odyssey, YouTube, X, doing Rumble, and I'm doing Twitch all at the same time, and I'm doing it for free. And there's people right now who are going out and paying for services to people to do that, And I've told them point blank. These are people I've known. I told them point blank. I was like, dude, I can show you how to do it for free, and they're not even interested, You can't give this stuff away for free, all right? And that's really what it comes down to. And that's the kind of stuff that I learned from OBS. I've learned how to work with that. Now, when it comes to audio, I do have to say I'm not very good with audio when it comes to OBS. I've really started focusing more on it, to where my voice actually sounds better with VoIPs, because in this last year it's actually the first time I've actually had to deal with VoIPs and being able to talk to people and have conversations over these VoIPs. And when I say VoIPs, if you don't know what that means, it's like Discord to me is a VoIP, Skype is a VoIP, Jitsi, and there's other ones as well. So I've had to learn how to properly work my audio on OBS using these VoIPs. And then there's also things that I do want to mention as well, and it has to do with video editing. I've already mentioned how I actually had learned how to edit with OBS, but I want to talk about editing tools like Blender and After Effects and DaVinci and editing tools like that. Okay, now you will get into this stuff, and eventually you'll figure out what your editing tool is going to be. All right. And that's what I did. Eventually, what I did is I started using a combination of OBS with Blender. Okay. I've had other editing tools before. Some of them when I was on Linux, and some of them on different, on Windows. But Wondershare was one of them too. But eventually I settled with Blender, and the reason for that was because I started on Blender, and I focused on learning about computer graphics and I was always wanting to figure out how to use the video editing on Blender as well. So I started getting into all this stuff and I learned it. And the one thing that I learned is that working with Blender takes a really, really long time. You know what I'm saying? For me, it didn't happen overnight. It was a slow process, and it wasn't only just learning how to do this stuff. It was a matter of all of this learning sinking into my brain to where it became natural, to where I could actually get on Blender and do this editing and not have to look at a tutorial. You know what I mean? And the one thing that I want to say is, like, that's not just for me in Blender. That goes for people who use After Effects, or people that use DaVinci, which are two other editing programs. Now, you don't just learn these things overnight. Okay, it takes time. So if you ever get into the point where you want to edit videos with somebody else and they use a different program, don't be picky about the program that they use. Okay, just because you're using Blender and they're using After Effects, don't say, well, I don't want you using After Effects, you need to learn Blender. Because what you're asking that person to do is to take and invest at least 6 months of going in and learning how to edit with Blender. Okay, and it's the same thing with a person who's using After Effects or DaVinci. Okay, if they want you to switch from Blender to After Effects or DaVinci, they're asking you to invest at least 6 to 8 months on just figuring out how to work After Effects and DaVinci properly. So if you're collaborating with people and they're using a different editing tool, you know, the easiest thing to do is to not try to force them to use the same editing tools that you're using, because all of these programs are set up differently and they would literally have to relearn how to use that program. So if you want any type of useful, if you want them to be useful at all in any way, then you're going to literally have to wait 6 to 8 months before they can freaking actually do anything to help you out. Now, another thing that I have noticed too, that I had a problem with in the beginning, but I've since learned, was on my video streaming and my video editing. When I set the resolution and the frames per second on a video with OBS, and then I take that video recording and I put it on Blender, the resolution and the frames per second need to match up. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you don't have to do that, you can do this, you can do that, but I've noticed that the quality of the video isn't the same when you switch the resolution around and you start using stuff in there to adjust them. Always make sure that your OBS's resolution and frames per second match the editing tool's frames per second resolution as well, and it'll make it a lot easier on you. Now, after that, what I do want to get into as well is about taking suggestions for me. Okay, now, that's a very touchy area for me when it comes to video and streaming and all of that, because they try to influence you to do certain things on YouTube and even on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn Learning, all of that. They talk about, you know, taking suggestions from people and using editing tools to edit videos. They'll give you tons of suggestions on that as well. Now that's all fine and dandy. Now, what they also start mentioning is niches and finding a focus group. Now, for me, I learned that this isn't really as complicated as what they're making it out on the internet. Okay, um, I guess this is a suggestion, but when it comes to these suggestions that you're hearing from people, just kind of keep it simple. Okay, finding a niche is nothing more than finding a focus group. Now, I get on Discord and I interact with people on Nostalgia Gaming Retro. I interact with Old John. I interact with Homeboy from YouTube, and these are my focus groups, and I know what they're interested in. Okay, so they're all mostly game oriented, so I know kind of what games that they're interested in and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. So I go off of that. You don't have to go out and find your favorite YouTuber and start following them and watching what they do and then do what they do. What you're doing there is you're mimicking what they're doing. Okay, finding a niche is basically finding a focus group, finding out some of the stuff that they're interested in, and then getting into that niche. They also talk about selling yourself. Okay, now selling yourself doesn't mean that you go on the internet and you try to pretend to be somebody that you're not. All right, selling yourself means that when you go on the internet, you have to let people know that this is you. This is you, and this is who you are, and this is what you're about. Basically that kind of thing. You have to sell yourself to the people who you're talking to. Like I'm talking to you guys. I'm not trying to pretend to be Joe Blow. I'm trying to be me. You know what I mean? This is who I am. I'm selling myself. If you like what you're hearing, then you're more than welcome to come back and listen to me again. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody else. You know, at the same time, I can't just sit and talk about ridiculous stuff like editing videos and shit like that, because nobody wants to hear about After Effects and DaVinci. So, with that being said, I'll get back to the good stuff like the Illuminati and cool shit like that, but basically that's what it is when it comes to finding, a niche. It's finding a focus group, figuring out what it is that they're into, and kind of contributing to that focus group, because like with me on my video games, I'm not really the best video gamer in the world. I'm one of the best, but I'm not the best, and the reason why I'm one of the best is because I love killing shit, dude. On video games, I don't want to like go according to the way the game is supposed to be played. Like I want to get in there and I want to see if I can kill as much shit as I possibly can, and I love it. There's nothing better than to do that, you know what I mean? And then talking dirty to women, like, man, I am a dirty talking fool, and the reason why is because I got this sexy voice that women just can't resist, so I talk smooth to them, so, and believe it or not, that's not really me pretending to be anybody. I talk that way to regular people. I mean, and that's my niche, you know what I mean? All of that is my niche. That's who I am. I'm not trying to pretend to be some prim and proper dude that's going to sit there and talk to you politically correct or anything like that. This is me. This is what you get. And that's a niche. So I had to learn that. At first, I tried to do things the proper way and act right and things of that nature. But in the end, it just did not work out. People people catch on to that stuff, and they they don't like it, you know. Now, um, also, when it comes to taking suggestions, um, I have another issue that a lot of people have a misconception of, and they think that, and YouTube is notorious for this. They like to make it out that WLCs harm your channels. Okay, and I want to say 100% that that is not true. And I actually did a little experiment here within the last year about WLCs and live streaming to find out for sure if it actually does harm your views or if it doesn't harm your views. Now, people that I've known who's actually gotten to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, they've gotten kind of scared because they've started hearing these stories about, oh, WLC is going to ruin your channel, you need to walk away from that or you won't be monetized for very long, or some shit like that. I don't even know if that's true, but that's, to me, that's what it seems like because of the way they act. I've seen my buddy Rockstar actually go on and get involved with WLCs using an alternative channel so that he can freaking comment on it because he's so worried that it's going to affect his channel that he will not use his actual channel to do it. Now, for me personally, I got curious about it. I keep hearing people talking about this, so what I did is I spent the first 6 months of this year on editing my videos and scheduling them in and avoiding doing WLCs, which, by the way, that's watch, like, and comments. What I do is I usually go on Discord, and Home Away from YouTube has WLC, which is watch, like, and comment. I post a video and somebody freaking else posts a video and they say, well, my gamer name's Infamous, so they'd say WLC in progress at Infamous, you know, so they would watch my video, they would like it, and then they'd make a comment, and in return I would do the same thing for them, you know. That's what WLCs are. Now, I've heard people say that this was something that would harm your video, so in the last 6 months I stayed away from it, and all I did was edited videos and I uploaded them, and I stayed away from live stream. I did that all the way up until June, and in June I started back up with live stream and WLCs. Now, all I ever use on my WLCs are my live streams. So when I started doing that, all of a sudden I started getting better views and everything. So for me, that showed me that WLCs don't affect my channel, you know, it actually helps it out. So that was one thing that I had I've had an issue with when it comes to these YouTube folklores, is what I like to call them. It's literally a folklore around YouTube. You'll hear a lot of them, so you got to be careful when you hear them. Now, don't get me wrong, platforms, they don't like WLCs at all, and the reason why they don't like WLCs has absolutely nothing to do with algorithms or anything of that nature. What it is they endorse promoting videos, okay? Instead of getting other people to watch your videos, like them, and make a comment on them, they want you to go in and they want you to hit that promote button and put money towards views. So whenever people do WLCs, what they're doing is they're interfering with the process of YouTube making money, okay? So that's what you need to understand when it comes to all of that. That's what that's about. And it's pretty shady, but they really do it. And I've had an issue about that for quite some time now. You know, I think that it's wrong. I think it's unethical. Um, and it comes back to a lot of the issues that I've had with the internet and doing this live streaming for quite a long time. I really don't like the atmosphere that YouTube creates. To be honest, it's not anything that's actually healthy for anybody. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to community. They're real big on talking about community, but the truth of the matter is like these YouTubers don't really care about one another. It's all for themselves, you know, and that's really what it's about. I couldn't tell you how many people that I've seen get monetization and they literally freaking just turned on the people who supported them that didn't have 1,000 subscribers, you know. And don't get me wrong, there's are occasions where that hasn't happened. As a matter of fact, here recently, I was able to watch a video from Malika Gaming, and she was talking about what she made for her first 3 or 6 months, I think it was. And one of the content creators who have more subscribers than what she does came on and actually freaking donated money to her, and it was so big that freaking she literally cried, you know. I thought that was cool. So it does happen. I'm not saying that about everybody, but I'm just saying for the majority of the people who make it over 1,000 subscribers, they just literally abandon the people who supported them, other content creators on YouTube. And it's sad that they do that, you know. It's basically, it comes down to survival of the fittest. They're going to do what YouTube tells them to do. They're going to toe the line, and they're just going to forget about all these other people that helped them out in the past. And you can see that a lot when it comes to what's going on there. And I just don't agree with that. I think that it's wrong. And these are some of the issues that I've had when it comes to streaming, you know. Another thing that I have noticed too was channel activity, you know. A lot of people who live stream are so focused on the algorithm, and that's all they focus on is the algorithm, all right? And they don't understand that channel activity is just as important. You know, when people go onto your videos and they make comments, you need to respond to their comments. Take time out to say thank you for watching. You know, that's very important. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. I've got this one guy, Tommy Spot. There's some times where he doesn't even watch the video. He just makes a comment. You know, and I don't know what the deal is with that. He could be just trying to be nice, you know, stuff like that. But I still make the effort to say thank you for watching, you know. That's very important. Actually try to have conversations with the people who are involved in your videos. In the comment section, you know, that shows activity with the platform that you're on. And it helps boost your views because it shows that you're active. Now, if YouTube thinks that you're an inactive channel, they're not going to support you as much as what they do if they see that there's activity going on your channel. And posting videos and stuff like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're an active channel. Okay, because you could be doing, like I said, you could be scheduling your channel videos out and not actually going on there and keeping tabs on it and things of that nature. Now, when it comes to channel activity as well, this has to kind of do with niches and this is something that I've mentioned, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who don't do it, but it's the category section in the video details. and it's just suggestion. You don't have to do this on your videos. YouTube doesn't make it mandatory, but I can tell you that using the category sections in the video details is really, really, really a good thing. All right, when you go in there and you're doing your videos and you're getting everything set up, go down to the category section and classify what that freaking video is about. You know, if it's video games, they have a section they have all the video games that are available that you can freaking put in there to say that this is Assassin's Creed Unity. You know what I mean? So that every time those videos are posted, people who are in the Assassin's Creed Unity section will see that video. And it's just like if it's not a video game and you're doing like paranormal or UFOs or things of that nature, or just, you know, entertainment, put it in the entertainment section. Now be careful about putting paranormal and UFO sightings and all that in other categories, because they don't have a category for paranormal or anything like that. It can get you in trouble. So, and a lot of people in that genre, they have an issue with you some people have an issue with you classifying it as entertainment, but there's a reason for that. It helps prevent you from getting into trouble. So just a note to people who are into that, the best thing to do is just classify it as entertainment, you know what I mean, and things of that nature. Now, another thing with channel activity is SEO. Now SEO is important, okay? Start learning how to use it. I've had conversations with Mark Edworthy, and I'm amazed by how this man thinks when it comes to SEO, because and there's a lot of people, I guess, who think this way too, but they think that you just put SEO in and you just leave it and that's the way it is, and that's not the way it is. Not when it comes to content creation and creating videos and things of that nature, because on YouTube and on Rumble, even all of them that use SEO, the content that you're putting on those channels are constantly changing from one subject to another, okay? So you can't have SEO that says freaking that you're playing freaking Assassin's Creed when you've stopped playing Assassin's Creed a year ago and now you're playing Modern Warfare. You know what I'm saying? So you have to go in there and you have to update your SEO. Now this also applies to other topics, if you're talking about ghosts and you're talking about UFOs, your SEO needs to say that you're into paranormal, you're into UFOs, you're into aliens, things of that nature. Now once you start shifting to other focuses like spirituality or being a spiritual healer or things of that nature, you need to switch your SEO from UFOs and aliens to spiritual content, you know what I mean? Spirituality and healing and spiritual healing and things of that nature. And that's just an example. Wellness for anybody who's into mental wellness, things like that. You know, you've constantly got to be on top of your SEO and you have to update it. It's like a resume, and this goes for websites too. You know, you have to update your SEO according to what you're putting on your website. You just can't put it down once and just leave it alone. It has to be updated. It's just like updating your resume. You wouldn't put the same stuff on your resume today that you put down back when you was 18 years old, would you? Well, you have to think about SEO kind of like that, you know. So that is something that I really emphasize on that, and your channel activity is so much important. And don't get me wrong, algorithms are very, very important, and that's what SEO is about. But there's more to it. Take care of the category sections on your videos. It might be time consuming and monotonous, but for each video that you're uploading, go into that freaking category section and put the name of the game in. Now, one thing that I learned that made that a lot easier is copy and paste. Alright, you take the game, or for gamers, you take the game, you copy it in the name. And then what you do is you go down to the playlist, if you got a playlist, and you paste it in there, and then you freaking choose the playlist that you have there. And then after that, you scroll down to the category and you paste it there, and then the freaking name of the game pops up. That's all you do. You move on. Copy and paste will save you a lot of time, and it'll save you a lot of heartache. So that is basically the best I can do when it comes to that. Now, I've gotten into a huge freaking spill on the stuff that I've learned from video editing, live streaming, starting out on YouTube and Facebook, and all of this has to do with my networking on the internet. And all of this started because I started out on freaking Facebook making blogs. Not even making blogs, okay? I started a group, I started a page, and I started watching or sharing other people's stuff off of their groups and pages and watching their views, you know what I mean, and how many people watched their videos and what the topic was about, and I focused on that. And come to find out, that's what I needed to do in the first place, because that's what they're talking about now when they're talking about genres and niches and things of that nature, and finding focus groups and focusing in on what they're interested in and things of that nature. That's what I was doing back then and didn't even know it. And as time went by, I started catching on to it, Now, I do have to say that I did get frustrated, and I mentioned it earlier, and I'll come back to that now. I got pretty frustrated with YouTube because of the monetization thing that they did. It got insane. Like, even today, I still think that when they first came out with it and they set their monetization at 10,000 watch hours, that was just ludicrous. It was insane. There was it made my blood boil. And today I've just gotten so used to the idea that they did that it doesn't even annoy me no more. But it could easily make my blood boil. I could go into a tantrum right now over what they did back then and how it affected me. It made me mad. Now, because of that, me and my buddy John, mostly me and John, but there were others that did it who aren't around anymore, to be honest. But we both went this route where we went out looking at alt platforms, and I'm pretty sure that I first started out with Odyssey, but at the same time I know that I ended up getting involved with a website called Fruit Lab. And Fruit Lab ended up being a disaster. And well, actually, I believe that I got involved with Minds.com before I got involved with Fruit Lab. I'm pretty sure I did. And Fruit Lab ended up being a disaster. And the reason why it ended up being a disaster was for the same reason that Minds.com lost their freaking their luster. Like, when I first started Minds.com, They say it was like in 2017. I'm not for sure on that because, like I said, I don't remember much when it comes to time periods. It could have been 2017. But when I first started out on there, it was hopping. There was people on Minds.com like you wouldn't believe. People were sharing stuff. There was conversations going on in the comment sections. There, and there was comments going on in the comment sections. Everything, you know what I mean? Um, it, it, it uh, it lost its luster because they decided that they were going to do what John refers to as changing the goalposts. You know what I mean? Um, they had a system that I thought was pretty cool back in the day when I first started on there. But then they decided they were going to get into cryptocurrency, and I didn't know much about. I didn't know anything really about cryptocurrency during that time period, and I just didn't like the changes they made. Then they went after they went to cryptocurrency. They started up Minds Plus, and they started really backing off on a lot of the things that they started out with. Like at one time, they had a help and support right there in the group section for Minds.com, and they got rid of it and they created Minds Chat, which I do use now, but for the longest time I wouldn't use it because I got upset with them and I just refused to use Minds Chat. Since that time, I've actually started using Minds Chat and I have no problems with it. But at the time, I didn't want to do it, and I sat and I watched the way things had happened or what had happened with Minds, and during that time period, I backed away from Minds and I went and I started getting more involved in Fruit Lab. This is more of a video game platform, and it had a pretty decent setup when I first started that, but I started seeing them do the same kind of stuff that Minds.com had done, you know, and for me, that that turned out bad. They actually had even a chat room where if you needed help you could go in and talk just like they did with Minds, and then they shut it down. They didn't want anybody to communicate with them and tell them, look, I'm having problems here, I'm having problems there. They just shut it down. So that was when I started seeing stuff happen there. Now another thing that they started doing that really messed with me was that they started getting into this thing where they wanted to do the cryptocurrency, and the difference between them and Minds is Minds had been going for quite a long time, so they had just gotten out of beta, don't get me wrong, but they had been around since like 5 years after Facebook started, so they had been around the block for a while. Fruit Lab had just started their platform like a year before, and all of a sudden they wanted to start switching over to having a wallet and doing cryptocurrency. And I knew from what I'd seen on Minds that was a bad decision, and I sat there and I watched the whole time while they were doing it just go to shit because they had chosen to go that path, and I believe that they were a little too immature to be able to jump into that. Now later, here in the last year, I was able to talk to Minds Gaming, and he came up with something else that I never really took a look at either. And he said the first mistake that a lot of these platforms that are gaming platforms do is they want to switch over from a regular platform into a cryptocurrency platform, where in reality they should have started out as a cryptocurrency website in the first place. So it makes it harder on them, and I can see that as being an issue. So those were the issues that I had with Fruit Lab and Minds.com. Now, I did eventually go back to Minds.com, and I ended up still having issues with the regular platform, like just regular Minds. Was, I mean, the first bit of time that I was on there, it was horrible. The analytics were crap. You don't get any views whatsoever. There's nobody really having conversations with you on the main platform. You get notifications from other people, and usually it's just whenever they post. They don't actually like communicate with one another anymore. It's kind of depressing. It's really a depressing atmosphere from what it was when I first started there. And what ended up happening is I eventually got hooked up with Minds Plus, and the reason why I did that was for the monetization. I wanted to make money off of it, and I had to pay $65 at the time. Now it's $85, but at the time I only had to pay $65 for a year, and I did it for 2 years. This is coming to the end of the second year that I've done it. And what happened is last year in August, after I had in September, it was after September, when I finally decided that I was going to go for the second year of monetization on Minds Plus. They decided they were just going to shut down the monetization program altogether. Now they have like a Ponzi scheme where they use referral systems to where you have to refer people to Minds.com in order to get any kind of monetization. And I've even said that before, that people don't really freaking, well, besides the the referral system that they have it to where people can give you donations and stuff for the content and everything. But it's like I said, even with that, okay, people don't regularly, they don't do that. Like, they don't sit and watch your video and say, you know what, I'm going to give this person money because he did such a great job. It just doesn't happen, So that really caused a lot of frustration with me. Now, in the process of being involved with with Minds.com and doing the live streaming and monetization happening the way that it did happen, I ended up meeting a lot of cool people. I'm not going to lie about it. I was able to meet interesting people, hang out with them, learn stuff from them, and I'm just not going to say that it was a bad experience doing it, because it wasn't. It was something that I've been wanting to do for quite a long time. But I'm not going to tell you that my experience with Rumble with Minds has been all that great since I came back from Fruit Lab and started doing Minds again. Now, after I started doing Minds again, I went in and I started also with Fruit Lab. When I was doing Fruit Lab, I was also doing some stuff with BitChute as well, and all this time I was still doing stuff with YouTube at the same time. And BitChute, there was one thing that I did want to mention about them that was kind of freaky to me. They actually had a monetization program, and I went in and I checked it out, and the weird part about this monetization thing through cryptocurrency that they had was it wasn't eligible for anybody in the United States. you know, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I was like, what the hell is that all about, you know? So I I I kind of shied away from that. Now they have finally came out with live stream, which I've been waiting for them to do that for a while. But since the situation with mines happened, I'm not too eager about trying to live stream on BitChute. I really don't want the upset no more. Um, I learned my lesson, you know what I'm saying about it. Don't get too excited about these platforms, because I agree with what John says now about, they change the goalposts. They promise something, and then later on they change their minds, and they change the goalposts. You know what I mean? They make it to where it's not what they agreed with to originally. Um, but I do find it positive that BitChute did start live streaming. It's just I don't want to do that. Like now, Minds has actually gotten to the point where they started their live stream and then they had to stop doing their live stream for some reason. So, and the people that they got hooked in with are pretty shady. Just that's the best way I can say it. Their streaming the people they go through their streaming with is pretty shady. That's about as all I can say. It's not something that I would suggest anybody get involved with. So, hold on a minute. I have got to go see what is going on. I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back. But that's the thing with mines that I had an issue with when it comes to live stream, and now they've discontinued their live stream, and they've given no explanation for why they've done it or not. I'm pretty sure that what I heard last time had to do with the metadata or some shit like that. So with these alt platforms, what I'm kind of getting at is they aren't really what they're made out to be either. I have found positive results from Rumble. Rumble started me out on my channels, and from day one until now, they've been giving me, well, supposedly I'm supposed to be making money off of it. It's not much. Within the last year, I made $2, but at least that's $2 that my videos did earn, and I don't know. It could end up being like it was with YouTube, where I get up to like maybe $3 or $4, and all of a sudden I have to have like 10,000 views, hours of view time or some shit, I don't know. So I'm still doing my stuff on Rumble. I have no problems with that. Here recently with Odyssey, I've seen some pretty cool things. I've done a video previously talking about Arweave, and that might actually pay off to be something good. I do hope that good things come out of that. The stuff that's happened with Library is pretty sad. They they uh, they ended up having to go through a lot of changes, and hopefully, out of all of it, good things will come out of it. But right now, all I can say is hopefully don't mess it up, and they come out with a good monetization program. I don't know 100% what that program's going to be. I haven't seen any changes take place on Odyssey at the moment. The ads free. There's no more ads on Odyssey, which I think that's cool. Like they've literally walked away from advertising altogether. So if anybody's sick and tired of going onto YouTube or Rumble and seeing all these ads, just be aware the BitChute got rid of ads. They're not there anymore, so you can go on there and watch their stuff and not have to worry about advertisement. Now, earlier I had discussed with you guys about VoIPs, and the one thing that I have had to go through with these VoIPs is people, man. Like I've had to go on Discord, I've had to go on Jitsi, I've had to go on Skype, I've even gone on Microsoft Teams and sessions, and I've done all of this stuff because of people. There's some people who don't want to go on Discord. They will give you every excuse from them stealing your data to the CIA freaking snooping on you and taking your information and shit. You know what I mean? They do the same thing with Skype. Then there's people who just want to go on Jitsi, and they don't want to have anything to do with Discord or Skype. And then there's people on Discord that they don't want to switch over to any other type of thing as well. Rapid Glitch, the guy I do my retro shit with, he's 100% gung-ho Discord, nothing else, so it causes frustration for somebody like me, because like I'm willing to try anything to get content, you know what I mean? If I have to go on Discord, I'll go on Discord. If I have to go on Jitsi, I'll go on Jitsi. I'll go to any type of VoIP that I have to go to get an interview or a show or any kind of content from another person. But with Discord, the one thing that I do have to say is they do have good quality on their video. But the downfall to Skype is the fact that freaking when you go on to Skype, if you are wanting somebody else to come on as a guest, which they do allow now for your channels and stuff, they have to have an account on Skype or not Skype, I'm sorry, Discord. With Discord, they have to have an account with Discord. Now, with Skype, the cool part of it is they don't have to have an account. They can be a guest, and you can give them a link, and they can come on and put their name in, which is kind of what Jitsi does. Jitsi, you can go on there and you can actually make a name for yourself, and you can go into the discussion, or you can just leave it blank and be guest, and it'll say that you're a fellow Jitster. You can do either or. that's the one thing that I noticed about Discord that is not very cool. You know what I mean? Like they insist that they know who you are. Um, I do like the quality of it, but here lately, even when it comes to video sharing and people networking together in videos, um, I've noticed that Twitch has come out with a pretty good system. Now I haven't been able to use it yet, but the reason for that mostly is because of this issue that I've had that I've been discussing. They've come up with something called Stream Together, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty cool. It does look pretty cool, but the only problem is getting people from other VoIPs and other networks to use it with me. Most people who are on YouTube don't really use Twitch very much, and I don't really network very much with people on Twitch. It's very hard networking with people on Twitch because they delete your content after like 7 days, and then they claim that more people watch your your content when it's highlighted, but from the analytics and what I've seen on Twitch, nobody ever watches your your highlights. I've gotten views off of the actual content, but I've never gotten views on any of the highlights that I've made on Twitch whatsoever. I don't know if people have actually watched it or not. You know what I mean? They could have watched it, and maybe they don't record the views that you get on them. But I, to this date, have never found any of my highlights that's ever gotten any views. So that is one issue that I've had with using this Stream Together that they've got on Twitch. I think that it could possibly be a better quality setup altogether than what Discord has. But I've yet been able to test it out because I haven't been able to find anybody who's willing to do it with me. You know what I mean? So it gets really crazy when it comes to all that. Now I don't really have much to say about like these VoIPs other than I do, the quality that's involved is really what bugs me. Microsoft Teams and Jitsi, for example. Now Jitsi, you get on there, and every time, or not every time, but most of the time, people start getting bounced off, you know what I mean, and things of that nature, and it just gets really annoying. So I find it hard to really enjoy using Jitsi sometimes, not all the time. The Skype has also had its issues when it comes to audio. I've had to actually go through and work on my audio and set up my OBS with Skype, because it seems to have an issue with working with other programs, you know what I mean, like OBS and Skype. I have to adjust the audio on my Skype in order to be able to listen and have people hear me properly on Skype and my headphones, you know what I mean. There should be no issues with me using my headphones on Skype whatsoever. Even on Jitsi, I seldomly ever get any issues with my audio. but I always had problems with it on Skype until finally I just buckled down and started trying to figure out what I needed to do there. Now, with Microsoft Teams, I believe that was the one that Mark Edworthy wanted to set up for the shows that I had, and he's been having tons of problems with it. He's been wanting to try to get something going on there since at least January that I know of, when he first mentioned it. And the last time we tried to put something together on there, it just turned out to be a horrible disaster. So I'm kind of discouraging myself on the voice myself after talking about it. I'm like sitting here talking about how this person doesn't like this and this person doesn't like that, and this, and it just, the more I keep talking about it, the more discouraged I get about them. Like, there really isn't no good VoIP, to be honest with you. I have an issue with Discord when it comes to this always forcing, what is that called? It's where whenever, like, I've got my OBS on now, and if I go on to, oh, here it is, it's streamer mode. Every time I go on to Discord, they always turn streamer mode on when I put in the settings that I don't want streamer mode activated. Okay, they just automatically do it, and they've always done it since I've started. And it drives me nuts because I'm trying to figure out what the name of a person is in my Discord channel, and the name is shrunk down so that you can't see it, so that if I'm accidentally, or even if I am showing the page, they won't be able to see who that person's name is on there. For me personally, I think that's ridiculous that they force that to pop up every single time you go on Discord. When I go into my settings and I say that I don't want that to freaking happen, it shouldn't happen anymore. And that also reminds me of, like, my default settings in YouTube. I've been streaming For Honor, and I've also been streaming Assassin's Creed Unity. Well, they determined that For Honor, the storyline at least, is adult content. So they turn around, and after me in my default settings saying that none of my videos are made for minors, okay, they turn around and they put age restriction on it. Now, I was under the understanding that when I went into my default upload settings and I made it to where it was not made for kids, that would have covered all that, you know what I mean? So why do they think that it's necessary that, even though I specifically said these videos weren't made for kids, why do they still have to make it to where it's age restricted on top of not made for children? Are they, like, just saying that not made for children is 16 or under, or 13 or under? Is that what they're talking about? Maybe that's it, because, like, the age restriction is 18 and above. You have to be 18 or older to watch it. So that could be the equivalent of R-rated, I don't know. It seems to be annoying to me, to be honest with you. I find that a bit unnecessary, is what I'm saying, with Discord, whenever you go on Discord and they do all that shit with the frickin' streamer mode, I think streamer mode, once I put it into the settings that I don't want them to use streamer mode, they shouldn't be used. You know what I mean? Now, if I choose to turn that back on, then I should have the right to do it. But I don't think that's necessary. Now, these VoIPs, like I said, if you ever do get into the point where you're wanting to live stream and interview people and doing roundtables, the best suggestion I can say to you is don't limit yourself by saying that you're only going to use this VoIP or that VoIP. You're going to have to adapt with, like I said previously, in other parts of this. If people want to use Discord, then you're going to have to use Discord. You know what I mean? If they want to use Jitsi, you're going to have to use Jitsi, Skype, all of them. I mean, that's the way I do things. Where I want the interview, I want the content, so I'm willing to go on those different VoIPs in order to get that content. And that's just the way it is. I mean, there's no picking and choosing and saying that I don't want to use this or I don't want to use that. The only thing that I don't want to do, that I'm going to stand by, is I don't want to have Linux again. You know, that's just not going to happen. I enjoy the lazy life, hanging out and being cool with Windows 11. Not necessarily Windows 11. If it was Windows, XP, I'd be cool. Maybe Windows 7 or 8, but 10 and 11 just sucked. They were horrible programs. So with audio, now, before I stop talking about all this stuff, I do want to cover like audio, and because that's always been a really, really touchy subject when it comes to me and doing any kind of streaming or recording or editing or whatever. Audio has always been the hardest part of this project. Now, testing audio is something that I suggest that every single person makes a habit of practicing. And when I say habit of practicing, that's where the repetition and more repetition comes from. Okay? I've mentioned that. Time management, everything. Repetition is important, and testing your audio is a part of that. It doesn't matter if it's been working perfect for the last 6 months, okay? You still test your audio. Anything could happen at any time to where your audio gets screwed up, and if you don't stay on top of that every single time you record or you stream, it's going to happen to you and you're not even going to be aware of it. Okay? You're going to record an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours of video, and you're going to have to throw it all away because you have shitty audio. Okay? Also, adjusting your audio. Now, this is something that a lot of people who are into streaming, and especially video gamers, they have no content, or they have no concept of how to adjust audio. When you're using your editing tools, okay, there's ways that you can adjust audio. Now, that is something that a lot of people who, like I say, especially in gaming, they just don't know about. And the reason for that is because they don't really take the time to learn how to properly edit their videos and get familiar with the programs that they're using. And the one thing that I also have to say too is, and you'll hear me say it quite a bit when it comes to stuff like this, is stop trying to reinvent the map. Okay, there's ways that people have been dealing with audio and video and setting their resolutions in their audio and the way that they've been editing audio and video. They've been doing it for years and it works. So don't be one of those guys that goes in and tries to reinvent the map and do something unique, okay? There's solid formulas on how to make good audio and make good videos, good content. All you have to do is learn how to follow directions. That's it. Okay. Now that's very important because I've had dealings with Rapid about this here recently. We did a video where we went through and we played a game with multiple people, and he decided that he wanted to alter the audio. He wanted to take out the background video. He wanted to just have us talking, and we were all going to do this, and he was going to put in his own music in the background with our voices. He didn't take into consideration that there's 4 different people doing the same freaking game, and instead of him just going ahead and letting everybody freaking do the audio without altering the audio by turning it down or anything, he could take and have all of that video in his editor. He could sync up the audio, and he could choose which one had the best audio and delete the rest of the audio and just use that one. So what he ended up getting was freaking me with a video that had background noise or background sounds like the gunshots and stuff like that, and my voice, and then the audio was real loud. Then he had freaking somebody else who had background music, but the audio was lower and it wasn't all that great. And then he had 2 other people who had no audio in the background and everything like that. So you've got that whole line of mess, that whole freaking plate of spaghetti that you have to work through. You know what I'm saying? And it's just not worth the crap when you can just go ahead and use the freaking formula that's been used over and over again for years and years and years and has worked every single time. You know what I mean? Just let people make their freaking recordings. Don't alter the freaking audio. Sync all of the audio together. Choose which one has the best audio out of the 4 and delete the other 3. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Now the reason why I say that is because you have a workflow, okay? And I'll get to the workflow when I start discussing, this whole thing that people have about quality versus quantity, all right? And there I'll discuss, creating a workflow for yourself and stuff of that nature. So, what I do want to talk about first is meeting people, and the one thing that I mentioned already was people's issues with preferences, you've got to kind of you've got to be watchful when it comes to issues that people have with preferences. Like I've had issues with people who don't want to be on anything that's not open source, okay? And for me, I've gotten to the point where I'm sick of hearing people preach about open source. The truth of the matter is they're spying on people with open source just as much as they are with people with Windows or with stuff that isn't open source. It's gotten to the point where people who promote open source are just as bad, if not worse, than people who talk about conspiracy theories all the time. And don't get me wrong, I love a good conspiracy theory, but when you take something like open source to the level that most of these people take it, it's really insane. So you have to understand that when you meet people, you're going to meet people who have issues with preferences like that. There's people who are only going to want to deal with open source stuff, and that's where I really have the issue when it comes to using Jitsi and Microsoft Teams and sessions and all that, is because these people believe in like open source and they would rather use Jitsi than use anything like Discord or Skype or anything of that nature. So you've got to deal with these people. Not only are you dealing with people who want to reinvent the map or reinvent the wheel, whichever way you want to say it, that you have people who have issues with their own personal preferences. You got people who freaking don't want to use anything but Discord. Then there's people who don't want to use anything but freaking Skype. There's people who freaking only want to be on Facebook and they don't want to go over to Discord because it's something new. So you've got to you've got to deal with issues like that. Now, with meeting people in streaming and stuff like that, besides issues with their preferences and stuff, you have to be careful with their suggestions for interviews. And when I say that, like, you have to be careful with them referring you to somebody else to do an interview, because we had that issue, me and Bob Dub did, with somebody here recently who we had interviewed, and he behaved pretty well, don't get me wrong. He didn't act out of the way in any way with us, but he suggested that we contact these other people and have them on for an interview. And when we contacted these people, they just gave the horriblest freaking kind of comments whatsoever that you could imagine about this guy. Okay, so this guy ends up suggesting that we bring these people on for an interview, and these people don't even like him, and for the channel that I've been doing this stuff for, that threw a dilemma for me. I had to really think that through, on how that's going to reflect on our channel. And what I finally decided was that I really didn't know this guy very much. I mean, I had contacted him, we had set up the interview, and I didn't know him very well. It's just like these people that he suggested that we contacted. I didn't know them at all. All they're doing is mudslinging. And me or the channel that I'm involved with had to have anything to do with him whatsoever. And we just said, we met him, we did an interview with him. Because we sent him a message back and we said, we're not affiliated with him in any way, but, we don't, and we don't know what's going on here or anything like that. We just offered an invitation to you to come on for an interview. Sorry for the inconvenience, and that was it. Now, if that affects our channel, I don't know. I don't really care. I didn't know him a week before then, just like I don't know him today. You know what I mean? It was just me offering an invitation to him to come on to our show for an interview. And what this is all coming about with is, like, with these interviews, when people make suggestions to you, be careful. Be very watchful about the people that you do invite to come on to your shows for interviews. And we've had great people on our show for an interview for the Wonderful World of Weirdness. It's an amazing channel. So I just that was one instance that I had, and it was interesting. Is all I can say about it. Now, the one thing else one other thing too that I do want to get more involved in later on is this thing about mental illness. Now, when it comes to streaming on the internet, I have ran across a lot of people who deal with mental disorders. Um, I've actually heard from Bob Dub where somebody had suggested to her that she never talk about mental health or mental disorders or anything like that when it comes to her brand. And I find that really horrible that somebody actually said that to her, because first of all, I've met more people doing gaming that has had mental illnesses, okay? And the thing that's really amazing about that is that people who are into gaming are more likely capable of discussing their mental illnesses. They don't hide it in shame like it's something that's bad. You know what I mean? They're very open about it, and I commend them on that because more people need to say that, I've even heard gamers say that they use gaming as a way to escape from a lot of reality, and it was a way for them to cope with their mental disorders and stuff of that nature, which really isn't a positive thing, but at least they were honest enough to admit it. Whereas other people who also stream that don't stream gaming stuff, they have a hard time discussing it. They don't want to openly have a conversation about it. I find that to be the most amazing part of it all, you know what I mean? That these gamers, the same people that a lot of other streamers that do interviews and roundtables kind of look down on, are more capable of talking about their mental issues than what these other people are. I find it pretty amazing. So with that, I also want to move on to something else that after I've discussed that, I want to move on to this thing that we had a conversation about here recently, and it concerns quality versus quality when it comes to videos and streaming and everything. Now, when I heard this, I first heard it on Minds. Bill Altman had talked about he didn't like the quality of content that was being put on Minds.com, and that really ruffled my feathers. I had a conversation with Mark Edworthy about this before too, and we both came to the same conclusion. Whose place is it to determine if content is quality or if it's not quality? If it's standard or substandard. What's quality content to one person isn't quality to another person. So for me, that kind of ruffles my feathers, with that comment. And then I also have a problem with people saying, that there's supposed to be like a difference between quality and quantity. Like, people who make a lot of videos don't spend time on making quality videos. It's just manufacturing these videos, which I find to be absurd because I've seen a lot of people make videos that are just shit, completely made out of AI, that has no quality whatsoever. You know what I mean? And I sit there and I watch that and I hear these same people talking about, all of these extra videos that are being made are just bad quality. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who stream on the internet just for views, okay? And they're all over the place. The majority of people who do gaming videos, that's all they care about. They stream just for views. They don't care about quality content, okay? Then you have other people who are streaming in video editing, and they do it with a passion. Now these people are kind of the class that I get into. Now I do a lot of videos, don't get me wrong. I do a lot of videos. There's a lot of quantity in my videos, but I I I I have a passion for it. Not only do I stream, but I also edit videos. I enjoy making the audio for it. My whole goal is to eventually make content that is 100% mine, created by me, nobody else, and that's music included. Okay, and that's always been a passion of mine. Okay. Now, the thing of it is I also know like what's needed for views when it comes to, or posts, basically how many posts that you need for Facebook and how many posts you need for YouTube and X, formerly Twitter, in order for people to for you to get decent views on their channels, and I don't think a lot of people have heard about that, or they don't understand it, like for you to get decent views, and I disagree with this. I think it's actually more now, but they say that you need to have at least 3 videos a week posted on Facebook and YouTube in order for your channel to get decent views. Just period. That's what you need. And I think that it's actually more. I think you probably would need about five videos at least each week on your channel so that you can get decent views. Now that isn't the bad part, believe it or not. Now X and Instagram, they for you to have decent views on their channel, you have to have at least 10 videos posted every day. Okay, every day. So you need, or not videos, but posts. You have to have 10 posts a day, every day, on X or Instagram. That's just so you can get decent views. So when it comes to this whole thing about quantity versus quality, you have to take that into consideration too. Now, this comes also with the topic I was talking about earlier about creating a workflow. Now, what a lot of people don't understand about creating a workflow is you're going to get quantity, because with creating a workflow you are learning how to with your workflow you're reducing steps that are involved in creating content. You're eliminating extra steps that don't need to be there in your workflow. So each part of creating a video or creating a stream that is unnecessary, you just take that out and you allow yourself to freaking skip that step so that you can create that content faster. Okay, because speed, believe it or not, is the most important thing when it comes to creating content. Now, like with CGI, even, okay, when people create CGI, they have entire teams set up to where they create specific parts of that computer generated imagery. Okay, now these people have to be able to have a workflow that allows them to work fast and precise, and they need to do it very, very well. Okay, there's no room for error in it. So not only are they working fast, but they're also working efficient, and they're creating content that is quality. Okay, and they're creating a lot of quantity, a lot of it. So you have both quality and quantity taking place there. So you don't compare quality versus quantity. Alright, just because there's a lot of quantity doesn't mean there's not quality there, because workflow, eliminating extra steps that are unnecessary, things of that nature, and repetition and more repetition. You have to create a habit. In other words, you have to be able to develop repetition and good habits when you're doing this editing and stuff like that, to where it becomes second nature to you, where bam, automatically you know this is what you need to do. Okay, and that doesn't come overnight. You have to use repetition, work by with steps. There's steps in each part of the process of your workflow. You have to learn how to eliminate the unnecessary steps, and that is what's going to make it to where you work faster. Like for me, I've gotten to the point where I can actually edit my videos. I can live stream. I'm able to go through and create a schedule on when all my videos are going to be posted. I go through and I check my posts after I schedule them to make sure they're scheduled according to their time. I'm also able to check each post to make sure there's no problems with copyright or anything of that nature. I'm not as good as my buddy Rockstar. Now Rockstar Pool, he's got it put together. He actually has got it set up to where he can schedule his videos out. And not only that, but when he goes to make the videos, he can tell you it's Monday, or it's Tuesday, or it's Friday, and he's made the video like maybe a month in advance, you know what I mean? But he's got it on his schedule to where he knows when he makes that video, he has to say, good morning everybody, you know what time it is, you know, and then he says it's Monday morning, you know, or it's Tuesday morning, and that's quality. That is putting together good video content, you know. And I'm not as good as he is, but that's the kind of stuff that you have to understand that's taking place. So this stuff, when it comes to the whole quality versus quantity thing, that's just complete nonsense. Don't sell it into that stuff. Don't buy into it, because it's not real. And like I said, there are people on the internet that stream just for the views, and that's all they care about, you know what I mean? And I think that's actually a product of what platforms like YouTube and X and all these other platforms have created, you know what I mean? They've created this environment where people feel like they're stressed out and they have to freaking do this stuff, or they're gonna lose views and stuff. Now, repetition and more repetition, creating a positive habit, that's one thing that's important to me. Now, this whole thing about taking a break, I'm not really bought out on that one. I've seen some things here in the last year that really blew my mind. I was always unsure about that until finally here since January. John from the Wonderful World of Weirdness was getting ready to just give up on the Wonderful World of Weirdness. He was just going to get rid of the entire channel. And I stepped up and I said, look, man, you know, instead of you getting rid of that channel, let me have it, and I'll take over and try to get it, you know, going and straightened up again. And he agreed to let me do it. But he stayed on with the channel and has been there with me. And while I've been there and I've been paying attention to the analytics, I noticed that like he would put content up for 6 months and he would take a break, and then he would come back and he would put content back up on it again. And each time he took those breaks, his views would drop drastically. Like there was a point where he was making over 100,000 views, and I'm not kidding you. I mean, this is a big channel. He was making over 100,000 views within the time that he was posting, and then when he took a break, he'd come back and it would drop from 100,000 to like 20 or 30 or 40,000, to the point now where we're lucky to get 200 views off of one video, you know. And this channel had over 140,000, I believe, subscribers, and now since we've been doing changeovers, we've lost quite a bit of subscribers. Not as much. We've lost 4,000 of them, but the reason for that was because um, I went in and I found out that we had content that was short videos of UFO sightings and ghost sightings and things of that nature, and YouTube ended up flagging the channel and making it to where they weren't available for monetization because they those videos, even though they were short and they could be used for Creative Commons or fair use, they weren't altered. So in order for those videos to frickin' be able to be monetized, we had to go through and we had to literally alter them in some way with a voice or some shit like that. Now, John had done this to crap loads of videos. I mean, huge amounts of videos, and there's just no way that we could have gone through and done that, because even though we altered it and made new videos, the old videos that had all those views would have still been there, so that means they would have had to be deleted. So basically, in the end, what I had to do is make a decision on keeping them on there and taking a chance of issues with copyright infringement or some other bullshit popping up, which, by the way, it had no copyright infringement involved with it when I was done with it. But I had a choice of keeping them on there and dealing with that, or just deleting them all. And I've been around this channel since the time I remember John starting it up. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't into streaming and everything, but it was like a year before I got involved in doing all this crap, and I had to sit and I had to delete every single one of these videos. And I've watched pretty much almost all of them. You know what I mean? And I had to sit there and personally delete it, and it made me sick at my stomach for doing that. And all of that was the result of, YouTube, basically. I mean, it was disgusting. It was literally disgusting. I know that didn't have really anything to do with what I was talking about with taking a break, but that was the reason why we only get like 200 videos or views per video now, is because we had gone from short videos that showed sightings of UFOs and aliens to interviews with people about UFOs and aliens and documentaries and scary stories and things of that nature. So there's been a drastic change on the channel. So because of that, we've lost like 4,000 subscribers. That's still good considering freaking we had, it's a pretty big channel. So if you still want to see those old video footages, though, let me point it out too that most of them are still available on Odyssey for anybody who wishes to check them out. It's the Wonderful World of Weirdness. It's an excellent channel. That's all I gotta say. If you want to check out the old videos, they still are on Odyssey, so go check them out. I went through and I covered everything that I wanted to discuss tonight. We're at 2 hours and 49 minutes. I think I did a pretty decent job. But like I said, I did PowerPoints. I didn't want to get too elaborate on them. I just put what the things were that I wanted to discuss, and I just had a conversation with it. You know what I mean? I didn't like give an explanation on what I need to talk about before. I've done that in a couple of the ones that I've had, and I'm pretty sure you guys noticed that. But the reason why I did it was because me, Tanhai Tran, and Mark did a lot of good, solid research on some of the topics that we're talking about, especially with Odyssey and Arweave. we did a lot of good stuff when it came to AI as well. Now, also besides that, the stuff that concerns politics, historical politics especially, me and Mark did a lot of stuff with that when it came to Roger's Real Time Talk Show. So I was really happy with the notes that I'd taken whenever we had done those things, and we got pretty serious on it, and we had a pretty good 12 episode season with both Tech Talk and with Roger's Real Time Talk Show. So I just wanted to do the best summary of what I could of them, and I appreciate Mark for complimenting me on that. I wanted to do my best on making a good show concerning those topics. And I also want to do a shout out again to Auto X as well as Bob Dub. And Within the Vacuum came in for one episode as well in the conversation when it came to Roger's Real Time Talk Show, talking about politics. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think we all did a real good job on that show. But tonight, I just wanted to focus on what's going on, or what's happened, where I came from when it comes to all of this craziness. At the moment, I really don't know what it is that I'm going to be doing in the future. I do know that I'm just going to wing it like I've been doing on a lot of this stuff. I've had a lot of people suggest a lot of things to me, and then I turn around and watch them, and they're going through shitloads of problems. You know what I mean? When it comes to video and everything. And I've pretty much determined that even though they have a lot of good suggestions, like my way of doing things seems to work better for me. It seems to work a lot better than what their ways are, so I don't have to complicate things, I mean, it still comes down to what it was in the first place. Like right now, I'm staring at my OBS. I've got my freaking notepad open with talking points, PowerPoints, I have tabs open up to the platforms that I'm streaming on. There's nothing elaborate to it. It's very simple, and that's the way I've been doing it since I first started. It's more of the workflow that I talked about towards the end, about the workflow, about creating positive habits. Think about it like this, okay? When I was a truck driver, and when I was learning to be a truck driver, I learned about having to relearn how to drive, okay? And that's a hard concept for people to understand, because to them driving is natural, okay? But when you get in a big rig and you get behind the steering wheel of a big rig, you start learning that you develop bad habits during your driving career that you need to unlearn, okay? So the majority of learning how to drive semi-trucks is unlearning bad habits, alright? So all the time that I've been doing a lot of this stuff, I've been developing habits and getting rid of bad habits that I've been doing, and it's about time management. I need to learn that there's a certain time for video editing, there's a certain time for live streaming, there's a certain time for eating dinner, hanging out with the family, going outside and freaking watching the sun go down. There's a time and a place for everything, and I need to learn how to properly schedule my day, okay, to where there's a certain time for doing a certain thing. And people don't want to hear that. That's the hardest thing about streamers. They do not want to hear that they need to get serious with their lives. They need to come up with a schedule. They need to set goals for themselves. Where do they want to be a year from now? Where do they want to be 5 years from now? Where do they want to be 20 years from now? those are the things that you need to be doing in everyday life, okay? This doesn't just have to do with streaming and trying to do that. This has to do with everyday life. These are things that people were taught to do back in the 1960s. You know what I mean? When people were more responsible and actually acted like adults. You know, today it seems like we've lost that connection with our elders. We don't understand that these are important things. Stop trying to promote videos. You know, create good content, and maybe people will give you real views. That's organic. You know what I mean? That means something instead of views that you have to pay for by hitting the promote button. There's a lot of people with a lot of big views, but you know what? Their content's just shit. And the only reason why they have all those views is because they hit that promote button. So don't be fooled by all that stuff, and understand, man, if you enjoy what you've done after you've done your after it's all said and done and your content's created, then you did a good job. You know what I mean? You're happy with what you've created, and don't worry what everybody else says, because there's a whole lot of trolls out there, and they're just sitting there waiting to freaking pounce. And don't feel bad if you have to freaking block them off your channel, because you don't need that. Once you start allowing trolls to freaking come on and make one bad comment after another, it becomes an epidemic, and it can affect your channel. So don't have any shame in freaking muting somebody from your channel. I have no problem with it whatsoever. You get a lot of these guys on here talking about shadow banning. They don't realize that the people who are doing the shadow banning are the ones who's tired of you fucking trolling their channels. You know what I mean? It's not YouTube. It's actual content creators who's tired of you and your smart ass mouth. So, just kind of be aware of all that stuff, you know. This is all about growing up and taking responsibility and being able to freaking put out stuff that you love to put out. You know, I've said it before. There's no reason why an artist shouldn't be able to come on the internet and make money off of creating art, rather than going to a warehouse and working 40 hours a week so that they can come home and freaking shove all their freaking money onto the internet for free. You know. It's really a shame that they have to put up with that kind of stuff. So with all of that being said, I think I'm done now. I was able to finish this with a good rant, and I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, just feel free to give me a comment, give me some feedback. If you're a troll, just shut up. Don't just say nothing. Because it's like I said, I'll shut you down the moment you do start acting up like that. I don't put up with it, and I don't expect anybody to put up with it with me. So I love each and every one of you. If nobody's told you they love you today, I love you from the bottom of my heart. Just keep coming back and keep talking to me. You know, don't shut down on me, because we're all here together, you know, trying to make it one day at a time, and hopefully we'll all make it through this and end up being able to enjoy our lives at the end of the day, you know. So with that, I will shut up and I'll be done with it.